We all ready to get started? Rock and roll? Sound good? So at first slide is a little bit of the agenda. You know, if you take a look at the words up there, career obviously stands out, right? And if you look at that word career, what word is within career? First, audience participation question. Right there. What word is within career? Care, right? And you'll be hearing a little bit about care, right? And I don't want to be motherhood, apple pie, and kumbaya, but there is to networking a lot of care that comes on your part, and I'll tell you how that will benefit you as you progress through your career. The other word there is ER. You know, I thought about that for a little bit. And that may be virtually where you may end up if you don't do career pathing and networking as an endeavor. So just looking at that word career, I mean, that might be the keynote of my talk in terms of career and caring about other folks. And you'll hear that theme throughout the next couple slides. Some other ones out there are perseverance, right? Effort, work, growth, certainly through networking and career pathing. We're always growing. We're never stopping our growth path. Hopefully you'll learn some things today. In fact, you know, one of my objectives and goals, right there, the word goal. Goals today is that you may take away just one thought, one nugget, one piece of information. And there's going to be a lot of information shared. One piece of information that will add value to your career pathing, right? So a lot to absorb, but if you can do what we call in the business world, or maybe the academic world as well, a takeaway, then this afternoon and the efforts going into career, the career keynote would be a success. So there's some other ones up there: responsibility, knowledge, vision, performance, potential. Potential is an interesting word. My dad always used to say, I was raised Catholic, so I was raised by the nuns, and I remember the nuns always saying to me, "Daniel, you have great potential." You know, and I thought that was a compliment, right? But really, it was, you've got a lot of potential, but it's not been, Daniel, exercised, right? So once you exercise it, then you'll have some performance. So a couple key words up there as well. And certainly development, right? To Ashley and her team, career development. So just, if you will, a little bit of the headlines in terms of what we'll talk about. But first, I always like to start with a quote. Can everybody read that in the back? We'll see how the visuals are. We good? I'll volunteer. I'll ask for a volunteer for somebody, either front, middle, or back, if they could maybe stand up and read that quote for all of us collectively. Yes, sir. Your name is? Rashawn. Rashawn. Let's hear it for Rashawn, right? First volunteer of the afternoon. Do you remember it?
It says we don't meet people by accident. They are meant to cross our path for a reason.
Thank you. Thank you, Rashawn. Thank you for that. And I really believe that. That was a quote from many famous quotes from Zig Ziglar. Those who may have heard Zig Ziglar, he's now 2014, late 2014, we lost Zig Ziglar, but he left us with a lot of vision, a lot of thoughts. That's one I thought that would be appropriate just to kick off this afternoon's career quest, in that I can even extend that and say that we meet people either for a reason, at least for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And just think about your own professional and personal experiences. Those people that come across, if only just for one event like today, if we not meet again, there may be a reason that you may take out as a takeaway that could help fulfill the objectives that we're hopefully want to accomplish with Career Fest. So, always the why, the what, the why, and the how. I tend to, the most complex thing in life, and you probably realize this as students. By the way, just so that I get to know the audience a little bit, how many in the audience are currently enrolled in freshmen, sophomore, juniors, or seniors here at George Mason, right? Okay, cool. And how many alumni do we have with us? Okay, super. The alumni, front and back. Super, well, welcome. In terms of breaking things down in our studies, our academic life, and our personal lives, you know, there's another saying, right? So this, call it anecdote number 2. The most complex thing in life is to keep it simple. If you can really drill it down into just simplicity, we don't have the time to try to absorb, to figure out what you're thinking. So, you know, I try to, at least when I give a talk like this, get it to the point where we have the very basics. What is networking? Why network? And how to network. And the how to network portion, we'll be doing that at the end of this talk. I'll share some tips. You know, so I'll share some tips of things that I've learned over the years, and the way that we learn is we make mistakes. So the things that I've learned over my career and in my networking life, and also some rules to break. You know, I mean, we're always kind of in this mode of follow the rules. So I'm not going to give you 35 tips to follow. I'm going to give you some of those tips that are really basic. And then I'm also going to share with you some things that you should do that no one else does, right? Thinking outside the box of your networking, just to set yourself apart and differentiate yourself, right? So let's start with what is networking. That's one word that I would describe what networking is: trust. My definition of networking is trust. And there is second audience participation. If somebody would just volunteer to read the first sentence of this slide. Any takers? Yes, sir. You are? Okay, we got 2 of them. I've got a second sentence I want you to read in the back, so hold tight. You are? Elite?
Yes.
Perfect. Just read us the first sentence. Thank you.
Networking isn't about finding someone to help you get a job today.
Wow, thank you. That's cool. Now, hopefully there's not a mad dash for the X's, right? This is a career, kind of a seminar, if you will, career event, forum. So if you came here to find a job, you're not going to do it. Now, never say never. You know, I always refer to in my sales leadership with my team, there's this thing called the bluebird of happiness, right? You know, that may fly in and you may meet somebody today and everything may just go just blazing, but don't count on it. In fact, don't have that expectation, because if you have that expectation, I assure you that you'll be disappointed. But the second sentence, and the gentleman in the back, could you please read that?
It's a process of developing contacts gradually over time with people who connect with each other.
Thank you. And your name is?
Potter.
Excuse me?
Potter.
Cotter. Thank you. So here we go. Let's just maybe focus in on, it's a process of developing contacts gradually over time through people who connect with and trust, that word again, trust each other. A couple key words. Process. Subtitle of the book, Tales from the Networking Community, is networking, like life, is a process, not an event. So it's a process. Networking is a process. And I'll talk a little bit later about some specific processes and ask you for some processes that you've had in your life, because it goes back to that first sentence. And that is, the process isn't coming here to find a job. It's gradually over time through people. Now, the question will always come up, and especially in this environment, Dan, well, how about social networking? And I will touch on social networking. And social networking certainly is, in this day and age, become a fabric of our networking lives. And there's a place for it. But for right now, for the purposes of today, I'll be referring to people networking, right? Just what we're going to be doing today. Who connect, and that's through introductions, creating awareness, and trust each other. A couple key words, again, would be gradual. It takes time. Again, referring to You know, my dad's birthday is September 10th today. So in his memory, you know, hi, Dad. He used to say to me all the time, son, time takes time. I used to hate that. What do you mean? I want it now, right? And if you do want instant gratification and you want to get full results and benefits from your networking, it's really not about a particular event. It's about a process that takes time. So what is networking? Networking is trust that takes time, that's gradual, where people connect and build a mutual relationship of trust. So why should we network? Okay, if that's what it is, why are we here? And I just applaud everyone that's in this room. It shows that you're interested and you're taking accountability of your own career. And there's a lot to be said about that. You know, there's a saying of some people watch it happen, some people make it happen, and some people looking for jobs sit back and say, what happened, right? You're making it happen, right? So the why is, why are you doing it? Now you may have your own individual reasons. Here's just like a 30,000 foot view of the why. It's because it will change. Networking will change your life. And it will change your life because you're going to be changing the lives of other people, the people that you come in contact with. Pretty powerful, profound statement, right? And I have to back that up, and I will. But this is a major, major endeavor that takes time to build trust that will dramatically change your life. And it will change it because you will affect and change the lives of other people. And you'll do that through what we call the law of giving without expectation. Anybody know a word, one word that you may have heard that capsulizes that quote?
Charity.
Charity, absolutely. Charity is giving without expectation. Because if you do give in a charitable environment and you have an expectation, you'll be found out. You know, you have to be genuine about this. Have to be sincere. Another hand, in terms of another one word for what this might mean, sir.
Altruism.
Altruism. Yeah, altruism. Thank you. Your first name is? Voluntary or volunteering? Volunteering, absolutely. Everybody heard the word, it's a fancy word for it, but it means the same, reciprocity, right? You know, those that give, receive. So why is this law so powerful in networking? Well, first, we as humans are hardwired. It's innate. It's part of our DNA. That when we receive, that we have a built-in need to return the favor. So just think about anybody in your personal lives or professional lives. Think about a parent, a teacher, a professor, a friend, a colleague, a sibling. Somebody that in your time of need reached out and helped you unconditionally, parenthetically, without expectations. And if that person, so everybody got kind of some of the thoughts about just one person in your lives that's really had an impact, that was there when you needed that person? So hold that thought. Now, if that person would give you a call and ask, even for something simple, I need a ride, you know, I've got a flat tire, or I really need to talk to somebody. I'm going through some real difficult personal situations, or I've had some real issues on the job and I just need to have somebody hear me vent. You feel that feeling of wanting to return the favor, and that's what networking is all about. It's about the law of giving without expectation. In order to do that, and here goes back to some of the words on the first slide, just repurposed, but it's all the same theme. In order to network, in order to help other people out unconditionally, it takes, back to that word time again, it takes time. Gradually, it takes time. It takes effort. It takes work. If you think about the word networking, you just parse that word. I often think about it as a safety net for the net. You know, you build a safety net. It's work, and it's ongoing. So effort for networking. And again, back to that word of sincerity. It's got to be genuine. You've got to be doing it from the heart for the right motives. Because if you don't, it's not that you'll be found out per se, although I think, you know, we all can read human nature. You won't be able to sustain it, right? Because when you're networking and you're doing those things, it's for a higher cause. It's for a higher cause to help people out, and then in return, they're going to return the favor. So that's the what, that's the why, a little bit on the how. A little bit on the how. Stephen Cubby, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Anybody familiar with that book? Familiar with Stephen Cubby? Okay. So, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, right? Habit number 2, talking about putting somebody on the spot. This hasn't been rehearsed, right? Habit number 2, would you happen to remember it? Perfect. Let's hear your first name. Joshua. Let's hear it for Joshua. That was not rehearsed. Begin with the end in mind, right? I always thought that ought to be like habit number 7, right? Like the last habit, but begin with the end in mind. So Stephen Covey, it's a principle of networking to begin with the end in mind, right? So when you go into a networking event, when you've got a goal of any sort, you know, you want to go there first, right? You go there first. I can't tell you the amount of networkers I've come across that are not intentional networking, right? They just, I mean, there's a saying, 80% of life is showing up, and that's true, but the other 20% is really, really important, right? You need to show up, and then you need to show up with a purpose or a goal, or Joshua, the end in mind. Stephen Covey. Remember the end of the story. Start there first and then work your way backwards. Your end in mind may be you're here because you want a job, right? I mean, it's career services. This is a career service keynote address to help kind of prepare you for that. Employers are going to be meeting with you afterwards, and you're going to get to know you, exchange resumes. So, you know, just thinking that most of the crowd, I would be at some point, some degree of looking for, would that be an accurate statement? Pretty close? Okay. There's other goals that you could use to begin with the end in mind, and this picture right here depicts another goal. Now, I don't know what type of race this is. Looking at it, I'm going to take a guess that it's a marathon. Looks like they're well in their way. The legs are, although it's not a video, I just feel tiredness in that picture. So this is another endeavor. If one of your endeavors is finding a job, then there's a process for that. We've talked a little bit about that. If you're, anybody run a marathon? Anybody here? Any marathoners? Yes, ma'am. Your name? Your name's Marathon? Marathon. That would be really cool. And when was your last marathon?
Actually, it was like a year ago.
A year ago. Which one?
The Vegas Rock and Roll Marathon.
Wow. The Vegas Rock and Roll Marathon. Cool. So we're going to talk about, we talk about a process, and let's maybe equate it to, what did you have to do to prepare for that marathon? Okay.
For like 15 weeks.
Okay. Cool. Was it was your first one?
It was my second one.
Second one. Okay. Did you learn from the first one?
Yes.
So increasing mileage per week, probably gradually, maybe not too fast. Anything else that went into your training?
Food.
Food's good.
Rest.
Rest is good.
Mental preparedness.
Mental preparedness, right. So I'm just going to take a wild guess and say you probably didn't wake up and run that marathon that day, right? It took you some time. And thank you for that, sharing your experience. And it's no different than anything else. You know, it takes time, it takes training, it takes, you know, nutrition, takes rest, takes thought. Boy, that word perseverance and effort does come in, right? It takes a goal, right? So I'm sure, you know, you probably plotted out, certainly if not for the first one, more so for the second one. Here's the marathon I'm going to run and why, the date, and give myself enough time. So it's no different than career planning and looking for a job. It's trying to plot and think about and give thought to where you want to head. And if you've got undeclared majors or undeclared careers, that's actually an advantage to a degree, you know, but it certainly doesn't put you at a deficit. So just have some general understanding of where you're going, how long it takes for you to get there, and then what it takes in terms of some of the how-to in order to, you know, make your career advancement successful. So a process is, could I use the marker for a second? So accounting majors. Do we have accounting majors? I know we do. So networking is an art. We'll talk a little bit about that art and understanding and knowledge, as well as a science. So if I just have to share, so that I don't represent myself here. I am an introvert. I do not like networking per se. It's an important part, but just if somebody else is in the crowd, that audience, I should say, that doesn't enjoy networking, I'm with you, because it's not something that you think of as, hey, I want to go network. Now, some people really are good at it, and they're natural at it, and they're extroverts. You know if you're an introvert when it's networking time because, well, I'll tell you what happens through my personal experience. Lights go out. See that? Don't network. I actually have to take for a networking event like this, you know, I have to take, you know, a couple days down, right? Because I just get exhausted after an event. If you're like that, then you're an introvert. It's not for extroverts or introverts. It's a process that takes time to build trust. So if you're in a situation where you don't consider yourself a networker, and well, here's an image, branding-wise, of a networker. Now this may be overdone a little bit, but here's what a lot of people that I come across in the networking community say networking is. You ready? Hey, how are you doing? My name's Dan. I'm in the transportation business. I can take you from A to B. Would you like one of my cards? Well, how about two of my cards? Hey, it's great meeting you. Catch you on the return, right? That's not networking, right? Now that's an exaggerated view of networking, right? And that's an image that some of us have when we think of networking, when your friend says, hey, we're going to go to a networking event, right? And it's like, hey, I don't do that stuff, right? So just to share some personal experiences, it's not about how you come off, how outgoing you are, how inverted you may be. It's all about just building trust, being gradual, having to take time, make it fun, try to help somebody else out. So back to the drawing. So for the accountants and everybody else in the room. Now, this is not going to go through back here, right? Too late to ask that question. No, we're good. Okay, networking, the science of networking. Science of networking. One, it's a 5-step process. Why 5 steps? I don't know. If you take a look at all the sales training and all the, you know, what it takes, you know, there's 6, there's 5, mostly 5. So as I took training classes and taught sales training, it just generically comes out about 5. You can parse it any different way. And down here, it's time. So any math majors here? So is that X or Y axis? I'm not sure. X. Okay, XX. So down here it takes time. Here on the y-axis it takes contacts. Let's put a C there for contacts, right? So time and context. And it's 5 steps. First step is, anybody want to take a guess? First step? Begins with an A. Awareness. Build awareness. So actually, forget what I just said over the last 10 seconds because I just broke Stephen Covey's rule of begin with end in mind. So to this graph, go to step 5, which is the goal. And your goal is to run a marathon, run a triathlon, get a 4.0, get a degree, whatever it might be. Get a job, meet somebody here that would have a meaningful relationship that you can meet afterwards, whatever that goal is. That's the time bound for it. And in order to do that, you build awareness. And you're going to build awareness in a few minutes with a lot of employers that are anxious to meet with you, right? So it's all about meeting other people through awareness. Second step is interest. So once you create awareness, the key word to know if any employer might be interested in you as a prospective employee, back to the most complex thing in the world is keep it simple, they will say, or no, you will ask the question, are you interested? Right? So if you get enough people that are interested, yeah, it looks like that your resume matches what we're looking for. No, it doesn't look like your resume matches what we're looking for. However, I know somebody that might, or if they don't say that, you might say, could you share with me somebody who might be interested in my particular skills? Third is trust. Fourth is desire. And you don't do a job, you don't go get a job, or in sales we say you don't do results, you don't do your end goal. Back to the accounting language, you accrue. You accrue. So if you create enough awareness, develop enough interest, build enough trust, build relationships with desire over time, it'll be a process that will happen on its own. Good news is I didn't lose the pointer. Tips, baby steps, tips. So this is the part that gets more tactical in terms of how to network. So any questions on, or any burning question you go, Dan, like, how does this stuff work? What do I do when I meet somebody? Sir.
When you spoke of the law of giving without expectation, can you kind of talk about the context of an employer giving without an expectation? So what does an employer give? What's the employer's gift to the person that's trying to acquire the job?
Great question. So for the employers in the room, and I'll put myself in that same bucket, it's to one, show up, to be around, to avail ourselves and take our time is money, and to be available, right? It's also to, once we meet you, is to also mutually, that word mutual, build that relationship. So we have a responsibility as well, because there's two people selling here, in a way, and there's two people wanting. We want good, qualified, motivated employees to grow our business. You want a job. So what we would do, should do, is stay in touch, right? Even if it's not an immediate match, provide some information to you about what we've discussed with you, a news article. How about a referral? So there's that reciprocity that runs both ways. It's mutual. Does that help?
Yes.
Anybody else on networking tips? Okay, remember this acronym FORD. FORD, this isn't an automobile commercial, but it's an icebreaker. An icebreaker is when you start meeting people at networking events. How are we doing on time, Ashley?
We're doing that. It's 4:50.
It's 4:50, and we have?
I'd say about 10 to 15 more minutes.
Perfect. So FORD, you and I talked about this in your office yesterday. So it's an icebreaker. We always, it goes back to be intentional, right? Be prepared. So FORD is icebreaker that stands for, it doesn't stand for, as somebody shared in the seminar I gave one time, fix or repair daily, which was a knock on, I guess they had a bad experience with the FORD. It stands for, F is for family, O is for occupation, R is for recreation, and D is for dreams. So if you're struggling, and it depends on the environment, you can talk about family life, if it's appropriate. I don't consider it not ever appropriate. Occupation, probably a big theme. What's occupation? What do you do for a living? And again, show sincere interest in that, from a kind of an icebreaker standpoint. So we're all kind of wired and geared up to tell our story, but the truth is that, the best topic that people like is themselves, and I'll have a slide on that a little bit later. So show a sincere interest in what they do, the employers. What is your business model? So I mean, if I was in your seat and I was talking to one of those employers back there, like, what's your business model, right? Somebody came up to me, it's like, make me think, right? Now, a business model is the fancy word for how does your business organization make money, right? But what's your business model? What customers do you serve? What needs do you fulfill, right? And a lot of times when you start asking those questions about occupation, or, how about those Nats? I wouldn't use that one lately. Or even the Redskins. But recreation, what sports do you like? What's your vision? What's your dream? So it's situational based. But once you start asking those icebreaker questions, you'll be amazed. We're all worried about what are we going to say. 10 minutes later, they'll still be talking about, if you ask me about XO Communications, about the inside sales team and what our vision is and how we operate and what opportunities we have, I mean, hold on, because I'm going to be talking to you for 5-10 minutes until you go, okay, I get it, I'm done. So ask questions. Those are some icebreakers, and just the acronym might allow you to kind of be, something at the top as you go into a networking event, and you're saying, what is it that I'm going to say? Another tip would be, typically we gather in crowds, right? There'll be 2, 3, 4. So if you see, and you go to a networking event, and you see 3 people together, that would be a great opportunity to go into that group and maybe you probably see 2 people talking. Typically 3 people aren't going to be talking at the same time. So you'll see, a couple of people talking, and then you just introduce yourself to that third person, and all of a sudden, you've now made a little networking quorum for yourself. So that's another tip that I have found to be useful. Be the host. So even though you're here attending, and Career Services is the host, you could be the host. You could be the host. That means you can walk up and greet people as they come into the door. Introduce yourself. Welcome them to the, JobQuest2015. Let them know your name. Ask them, what they hope to accomplish here. Because there's people that are going to come in back to that networking, branding issue that are really kind of skeptical and nervous about this. So you can set yourself aside by being the host and helping other people feel comfortable. Wallflowers, right? Wallflowers. So there'll be people like this, right? And we'll be sitting over here, and we're going to be in a corner. There'll be corners, because we'll be surveying the organization. So go up to somebody and just, they may be a little uneasy. Go up and just introduce yourself to them. Let them know who you are. And what that does, it takes the pressure off of you, right? And it's going back to that Career Services in those 4 letters called CARE. And you'd be amazed at the results. So those are some tips. Let me think. Business cards, right? So you'll notice my table out there, or my table, XO Communications' table, there's not a lot of collateral out there. There's, business cards are really, really important. Our websites are in this business card. So anything that you would want, but have business cards. And when you, toughest situation in networking that people share with me is, Dan, when I'm networking, how do I break away from the chatty Cathys of the world, right? Or the people that just how do I break away? And business cards are a great way to do it. Your first name is? Jean? Jayleen. Jayleen, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Your time's valuable. I don't want to hold you up any longer, but here's a card. So if I can help you out in any way, feel free to give me a call. Right? So that's just a kind of a gentle professional breakaway. So there's a number of tips that are out there. All that information is like, it's a plethora of information, almost too much. Anybody heard of SlideNet? SlideShare, right? SlideShare. Yeah, I mean, just do networking tips and you'll get drowned. But have some so that you'll be intentional, so that when you walk into an event, you'll be a little bit more prepared. But take the position of being able to help people out. This is, what is this? Right? My favorite slide, right? This is for the Mavericks. Remember I told you about break some rules, right? Break some rules. That's one of them, be the host, Go up to somebody on the outside, ask people about what they're interested in. And you'll find out after you do that, they will say to you, and it's incredible how human nature works. But as you ask these probing questions about their family, occupation, recreation, or dreams, or whatever the topic, is their favorite topic of the day, they're going to walk away after speaking with you for 10 solid minutes and say, it's been great. Your first name?
Mary.
Mary, it's been great talking with you, right? You've not said a word, right? So, it's one of those rules that people think that when they go to a networking event, they need to be on. You really don't. You just have to be present, have intention, because here's the key word, follow-up. Follow-up that really matters. That's the process of following up after the event. Okay, I told you that I would spend a little time on social networking. Back to the most complex thing in the world, let's keep it simple. LinkedIn is the most powerful way to connect in this career development stage where you're at. When I have somebody that gives me a call and says, Dan, I'd like to talk to you about a potential opportunity with XO Communications, what I say first is, send me your LinkedIn profile. I'm not looking at resumes. Now, I may reference it, but your resume should be on LinkedIn, should it not? What's the most important part of LinkedIn in terms of what an employer looks for in terms of you? What's the first thing they look at? Picture, image, picture. The picture. Have a professional picture. Have a professional profile. I can't tell you how much that will impact and an impression will be made from that first instance. So that's LinkedIn. I could give a 4-day seminar on LinkedIn. I'm not going to, other than have it updated, be professional with it, and send that to your employer because it'll be the first thing viewed. I'll leave with a quote. Timing-wise? I started with a quote. I'll leave with a quote. People are not interested in you. They are not interested in me. They are interested in themselves. Morning, noon, and after dinner, right? That, folks, I'm sorry, is the human nature. We have to, that Maslow, hierarchy of needs, survival, that's what it's all about. So if you push that away, rise to a higher level of building trust and helping people out, a softer quote that I'll leave you with Dale Carnegie in closing, would be this, that you can gain more friends in 2 months by showing sincere interest in them than you can in 2 years by trying to get them interested in you. Thank you for your time. My time is up, and I thank you again for yours.